Welcome to Barnstable Today. I'm Nick Cortez. For nearly 50 years, the motor vessel Prudence has been a fixture in Hyannis Harbor. In that time, hundreds of thousands of passengers have watched and listened as the Scudder family and a long line of captains and deckhands guided Prudence along the coastline, providing onlookers a unique view of the Kennedy compound that has captured the imaginations of so many. The Prudence was one of the cornerstones on which the Scudders built Highline cruises, but the 50 years the family has owned her only makes up half her history. Last month, the Prudence turned 100, making it the oldest continuously operating, fully documented passenger vessel in America. Recently, Highline commemorated the centennial of Prudence's christening with a ceremony held at Azleton Park that was at once a history lesson, a family reunion, and a celebration of one of the great symbols of Barnstable's maritime culture. Take a look.
But the Prudence, which was built in May of 1911, was christened Madeline, or Madeline. Sheila can... Madeline, thank you. She was christened Madeline in May of 1911, and she was built at the Irving Reed Shipyard in Boothbay Harbor, Maine, for an estimated whopping sum of $2,400. And that included all the machinery. She operated her first 10 years under the name Madeline in and around the city of Boston. After the Prudence finished her 10-year stint in Boston, she was purchased by the Prudence Island Navigation Company, and she was rechristened and renamed Prudence. She operated between Bristol, Rhode Island, and Prudence Island for 40 years. And back in the 1930s, the Prudence Island Navigation Company hired a young man as a deckhand, and he continued on with that company to become captain of the Prudence and worked on her right up until the day that she was sold to this company in 1962. His name was Captain Manny Souza. As I said, that just then my dad and his brother Bob bought the Prudence in 1962, and over the past 50 years there have been a ton of people who have cut their teeth in this industry operating this vessel and working as a deckhand. A lot of you are here today, and I'm not going to be able to introduce everyone, but I do want to wish and express my thanks to everyone who was able to get here and took the time to come and be part of this celebration. It's a very, very moving and moving testament to Prudence. Now, during the 50 years that we've owned her, she reached a point in her life where she was going to need some major reconstruction if we were going to keep her operating. And we were convinced to do that rebuild by Captain John Burke, who started off as Steve's replacement on the Prudence, and then he kind of moved over to the fishing department that we expanded into, and then went on to other things, and his expertise actually grew into wooden shipbuilding. So we had him to supervise the reconstruction for the company back in the 1979-1980 period. And we did a major reconstruction of the vessel. The first time was the topsides. The second time we did from the main deck down. And this work was accomplished at Billings Marine in Stonington, Maine. And this Prudence that you see out here now looks as good today as she did coming out of Billings Marine back in the early 1980s. And that's because of the work that was done on this vessel by Harlan Billings and his employees and staff at Billings Shipyard in Maine. And Harlan is with us this afternoon as well. Harlan Billings.
After Philip Scudder's history of the Prudence, several honors and congratulatory notes were presented to the Scudder family from local, state, and federal government officials. Former state senator and Highline Business Development Director Marty Riley rose to speak on behalf of Congressman Bill Keating and Senator John Kerry. Riley added some additional comments of his own on the legacy of the Prudence.
Starting with the election of President Kennedy on November 8, 1960, and his first public appearance as president on the morning after his election at the Hyannis Armory, which is located right next door to this occasion. The nation and the world was fascinated by the Kennedy family and the Kennedy compound located in Hyannisport on the waters of Nantucket Sound. Shortly after President Kennedy was elected in 1960, in 1962, several months before Ted Kennedy was first elected to the Senate, the visionary and entrepreneurial Scudder brothers, Dick Scudder and Bob Scudder had the vision and the wisdom and the foresight to purchase the Prudence. And they purchased the Prudence at that time for the purpose of running sightseeing tours to the famous Kennedy compound. And the success of the Prudence in providing enjoyable passenger service to the public with tours of the Kennedy compound and Hyannis Harbor led to the growth and expansion of Highline cruises to the point where Highline is now one of the largest employers in the town of Barnstable. During the Prudence history of approximately 50 years in Hyannis, she has carried over 1 million passengers from all over Massachusetts, the United States, and the world, while also providing a source of employment and lifelong friendships to thousands of people in the Hyannis, Barnstable, and Cape Cod community. One of the most notable passengers on the Prudence was Senator Kennedy, who over the years traveled on the Prudence quite often, and one of those moments is captured for posterity in a picture of him at the helm of the Prudence, which is now prominently displayed at the entrance to the Prudence exhibit at the Cape Cod Maritime Museum, which opens and welcomes visitors today. So accordingly, it is only appropriate that the Prudence be recognized today by U.S. Congressman Bill Keating and U.S. Senator John Kerry for her 100 years of providing continuous, outstanding, dedicated, distinguished, and enjoyable passenger service to the traveling public, and for her unique contribution to the history of the maritime industry in the United States. Specifically, Congressman Keating's honor reads as follows, and I'd like to just share the text of that with you, which he offered on the floor of the U.S. House of Representatives in honor of the Prudence. On May 24th, 2011, by extension of remarks, to commemorate the 100th anniversary of the MV Prudence. Mr. Speaker, I rise today to commemorate the 100th anniversary of the MV Prudence, what is believed to be the oldest continuously operated, fully documented merchant vessel in the United States. The MV Prudence was originally christened as the Madeline in 1911 and commissioned for former Boston City Councilor and Dedham State Representative Frank Gethro. Upon completion, the Madeline operated until 1920, providing ferry service from Marine Park in the City Point area of South Boston to Castle Island in South Boston and other Boston Harbor islands. The Prudence received her name in 1921 when the Madeline was sold to the Prudence Island Navigation Company in Bristol, Rhode Island. For over 4 decades, ferry goers were serviced by the Prudence between Bristol, Rhode Island and Prudence, Rhode Island. Following the 1960 election of President John F. Kennedy of Massachusetts, the Prudence was purchased by Hyannis Harbor Tours, Inc., founders Dick and Robert Scudder, in 1962, and returned back home to its state of Massachusetts. Since 1962, millions of Cape Cod tourists have been serviced by the Prudence's sightseeing cruises from Hyannis Harbor to the Kennedy compound in Hyannisport, Massachusetts. Hundreds more have been provided employment by the Prudence reliable passenger service. Today, I honor the Prudence's role as a celebrated cultural icon and reliable employer for residents of my district. With the celebration of the MV Prudence 100th year of service scheduled to begin on May 26, 2011, I extend my deepest congratulations to the vessel and its operators on this incredible achievement. Bill Keating, Congressman, 10th District. In addition to that, we have an honor from U.S. Senator John Kerry, who's the senior member of the U.S. Senate from Massachusetts, and his reads as follows. The 112th Congress, the Honorable John F. Kerry, Massachusetts, recognizes the MV Prudence on the occasion of its 100th anniversary, May 26, 2011. I am delighted to honor the MV Prudence on the occasion of its 100th anniversary. Though transportation options have evolved tremendously over the past century, Prudence has remained a steady, reliable constant. We are grateful for her years of service to the people of Massachusetts and for her genuine impact on the Massachusetts waterfront's economy. Once again, I congratulate the MV Prudence on this momentous occasion and extend my very best wishes for continued success. John F. Kerry, United States Senate.
Join us tomorrow when we'll bring you more from the 100th anniversary celebration of the MV Prudence, including comments from Dick Scudder, the rechristening ceremony, and a closer look inside the special exhibit at the Cape Cod Maritime Museum. I'm Nick Cortez, and we'll see you next time on Barnstable Today.